The emergency signal traveled through space for 3 days before anyone heard it. When it finally reached the Galactic Assembly's monitoring station, the technician on duty froze. The message was fragmented, broken by static and interference, but the words were clear enough. 73 souls trapped on a dying ship. Ambassador Veltara stood in the center of the assembly chamber, her translucent wings trembling slightly. She was Ethian, a species known for their diplomatic grace and their extreme fragility. Her homeworld had gravity 1/3 that of most inhabited planets. The very thought of harsh environments made her skin shimmer with distress. "We have confirmed the location," she said, her voice carrying through the chamber's translation systems. "The research vessel Morning Bloom crashed on Kethrin 9 approximately 4 days ago. Life support is failing. They have perhaps 6 days remaining, maybe 7 if they ration carefully." The chamber filled with concerned murmurs. 17 species had representatives here, and all of them understood the severity of the situation. Kethrin 9 was not just hostile, it was a nightmare. High gravity, toxic atmosphere, extreme temperature shifts, and native life forms that killed for territorial reasons rather than food. "Our rescue ships cannot reach them," Veltara continued. "The radiation storms in that sector are too intense. Our shields cannot withstand the gravitational anomalies near the moon. We have lost 2 probe drones attempting to map a safe approach." A Vexian counselor stood, his crystalline body refracting the chamber's light. "What about the Keltherin fleet? Their ships have stronger shields." "They are 3 weeks away at maximum speed," Veltara replied. "The Morning Bloom does not have 3 weeks." Silence fell over the assembly. Everyone knew what this meant. 73 people, scientists, engineers, their families, would die slowly as their air ran out and their systems failed. Among them were Ethians, Vexians, Keltherin, and a handful of others. The Morning Bloom had been a symbol of cooperation. Now it would become a tomb. "There is one option," a quiet voice said from the back of the chamber. Veltara turned. The speaker was Counselor Tef, an elderly Vexian who had served in the assembly for 40 cycles. He rarely spoke, but when he did, others listened. "We could ask the humans," Tef said. The chamber erupted. Voices overlapped in a dozen languages, all expressing variations of the same shock and horror. Veltara raised her hand for silence, though her own hearts were beating rapidly. "The humans," she repeated carefully. "You suggest we contact the Deathworlders. They are the only species with ships that could survive those conditions," Tef said calmly. "Their vessels are built to withstand what they call atmospheric entry. They land on their planet regularly, despite its crushing gravity and violent weather. Kethrin 9 would be challenging even for them, but it is possible." "The humans are dangerous," another counselor objected. "Their world breeds violence. Everything on Earth is designed to kill. They are apex predators who conquered their entire planet through warfare." "They are also members of the greater galactic community," Tef replied. "They have an embassy here. They have never threatened any assembly member. Perhaps it is time we looked past our prejudices." Veltara felt torn. She had seen humans before from a distance. They were intimidating creatures, tall, heavily muscled, with forward-facing eyes like predators. Their planet had gravity twice what her species could tolerate. They breathed oxygen at such high concentrations it would be toxic to most species. They ate both plants and meat. They had dozens of words for different types of killing, but 73 people were dying. "I will contact their embassy," Veltara said finally, "but this is an inquiry only. We make no commitments." The human embassy was smaller than most. Humanity had only joined the galactic community 15 years ago, and they maintained a minimal presence, polite but distant. The embassy itself was built to human specifications, which meant uncomfortably high gravity and thick atmosphere for most visitors. Veltara's message was received by Captain Yule, the military attaché. He was a compact man with sharp eyes and efficient movements. He listened to her explanation without interruption. 73 civilians, he repeated, on Kethrin 9. You need extraction within 6 days. We understand this is a significant request, Veltara said carefully. We would not ask if there were any alternative. The assembly is prepared to discuss compensation. We'll send someone, Yule said. Veltara blinked. You will need to consult with your superiors, surely. This is not a simple, I have authority to deploy rescue assets, Yule interrupted. We'll send a volunteer. He'll leave within 12 hours. A volunteer? One person? Beltara's wings fluttered in confusion. Captain, I do not think you understand the severity. One person, Yule confirmed. He's qualified. Send me the coordinates. The connection ended. Beltara stared at the blank screen, uncertain whether to feel relieved or insulted. One person. The humans were either incredibly arrogant or they simply did not care. When she reported back to the assembly, the reaction was worse than she expected. One soldier? A counselor demanded. They send one person to rescue 73? This is an insult. Perhaps they are sending their best ship with a minimal crew? Another suggested hopefully. No, Beltara said quietly. He said volunteer. Singular. One person is coming. On the morning bloom, Dr. Hana worked frantically at the damaged communications console. She was a xenobiologist, not an engineer, but everyone had to do jobs outside their expertise now. The ship's chief engineer was unconscious in the medical bay with a head injury. 3 crew members were dead from the crash. Everyone else was rationing oxygen and hope. Did you get through? Dr. Bora asked. She was Hana's research partner, an astrophysicist who now spent her days calculating exactly how long they had left to live. I think so, Hana said. The message transmitted. Whether anyone received it, she did not finish the sentence. Bora squeezed her shoulder. They'll come. The assembly takes care of its people. Hana wanted to believe that, but space was vast and they were very far from anywhere safe. She looked across the damaged ship, seeing frightened faces. Young Rin, only 8 years old, sat with her mother. Both looked pale and tired. Oxygen deprivation was starting to affect everyone. We need a miracle, Hana whispered. In orbit around Earth Station Omega, Warrant Officer Day checked his equipment one final time. He was not an impressive man by human standards. Average height, lean build, quiet demeanor. He had been a combat engineer for 12 years, specializing in hostile environment operations. Captain Yule stood nearby, reviewing the mission parameters. 73 civilians, Yule said. Mixed species. Crashed on a Class 4 hostile moon. Radiation storms, high gravity, toxic atmosphere, aggressive native fauna. Life support failing. Understood, Day said. You're sure about this? It's volunteer only. Day looked at his captain. Someone called for help. That's enough. Yule nodded slowly. Good luck, Warrant Officer. Thank you, sir. Day climbed into his dropship. It was small by military standards, designed for single-operator missions. The hull was scarred from a dozen previous deployments. Inside, it smelled like recycled air and old coffee. As the ship powered up, Day ran through his checklist. Food for 2 weeks, water recycler, medical supplies, repair equipment, weapons. Everything he might need to keep 73 people alive until proper rescue arrived. The ship launched smoothly. Earth fell away behind him, beautiful and deadly. Ahead lay the dark between stars, and somewhere in that darkness people were dying. Day set his course for Kethrin 9. He would arrive in 48 hours. Day spent the first hour just looking. He walked through every section of the damaged ship, asking questions, taking notes on a small handheld device. The survivors followed him nervously, waiting for judgment or criticism. But he just looked, measured, and occasionally nodded to himself. Dr. Hana served as his guide. She was surprised by how gentle his voice was, how carefully he moved in the cramped spaces. For someone from a species known for violence, he seemed remarkably aware of the nervous aliens around him. 3 hull breaches, he said finally, standing in what used to be the cargo bay. Life support failing in sectors 2 and 4. Power generation at 40%.
How much air do you have left?
36 hours, Hana replied. Perhaps 40 if we keep everyone sedated, but Dr. Bora says that's dangerous with the oxygen levels this low. Don't sedate anyone, Day said. I need people conscious and mobile. We might have to move quickly. Move where? Chief Engineer Thalcor asked. He had been hostile since Day arrived, clearly resentful that a single human was their only help. There's nowhere to go. This moon will kill us all in minutes outside the ship. Maybe, Day said. He turned to Hana. You mentioned native life forms in your distress call. Silicon-based predators. How many are we dealing with? The sensors detected at least 40 distinct signatures within 2 kilometers, Hana said. But the sensors are damaged, so there could be more. And they're attracted to the ship's energy signature? We think so. They've been circling since we crashed. A few have tried to breach the hull. Day nodded. That's a problem. Your life support is failing because you've been diverting power to reinforce the hull against them. But every hour you run those reinforcements, you lose oxygen generation capacity. We had no choice, Thalcor said defensively. Those creatures would tear through the hull otherwise. Not criticizing, Day said calmly. Just stating the situation. He looked around at the gathered survivors. Here's the reality, I can't fix this ship. I don't have the parts or the equipment. What I can do is keep you alive until proper rescue arrives. How long until proper rescue? Someone asked. 12 days minimum, Day replied. The Assembly is sending a fleet with proper radiation shielding. But 12 days is longer than your current supplies will last. Silence fell over the group. 12 days. They had perhaps 2 days of air remaining, and that was optimistic. So what do we do? Hana asked quietly. Day set down his pack and began unpacking equipment. First, I deal with the predators. Can't have them hammering your hull while we work. Second, I patch the hull breaches. Not a full repair, but enough to hold. Third, we rig a better air recycling system using what I brought plus what you have. Fourth, we sit tight and survive. That's impossible, Thalcor said. One person cannot— It's difficult, Day interrupted. Not impossible. I've done harder jobs. He pulled out what looked like a weapon, something heavy and functional. I need someone who knows security protocols. Someone military if you have them. I was security officer, a voice said. June stepped forward. He was Korean like Dee, but taller and more heavily built. One arm was in a makeshift sling and he moved with obvious pain. Former military. Got injured in the crash. Day looked him over. Can you use a weapon with one arm? If I have to. Good. You're going to learn how to shoot one of these. Day handed him a compact rifle. It's human-made, so the kick is strong. Brace properly or it'll break your good arm too. June took the weapon carefully. What am I shooting? Hopefully nothing. But if I go down, you need to keep those predators away from the ship. Day showed him the basic controls. Safety here. Target acquisition here. Don't aim at anything you don't intend to kill. While June practiced with the unloaded weapon, Day turned to Dr. Bora. You're the astrophysicist, right? Yes. I need you to analyze something. He pulled out a sealed container. On my way here, I killed one of those predators. Got a tissue sample. I need to know its biochemistry, what it's made of, what it eats, what it avoids. Bora took the container hesitantly. You want me to find a weakness? I want you to find a repellent. Something we can spray around the ship that'll make them leave us alone. Chemical warfare instead of bullets. Saves ammunition. Bora's eyes widened with understanding. That's actually clever. It's practical, Day corrected. Get me results when you can. No rush, I'm going out there first anyway. Out there? Hana said, you can't go outside now. It's almost night. The temperature drops to minus 60 degrees. The predators are more active. You'll be killed. Day finished checking his equipment. Probably not. But I appreciate the concern. He resealed his helmet. Lock the airlock behind me. Don't open it for anything except me. If something tries to break in, June shoots it. Wait, Thalcor said. What are you going to do out there? Set a perimeter. Place sensors. Kill anything that doesn't leave when warned. Day moved to the airlock. Should take about 3 hours. 3 hours? Thalcor looked at Hana. He'll die in 3 hours. But Day was already cycling the airlock. Hana watched through the external cameras as he stepped out into Kethrin 9's approaching night. The temperature was already dropping. The sensors showed predator signatures moving closer to the ship. Day pulled a device from his belt, some kind of scanning tool, and began walking a wide circle around the morning bloom. Every 50 meters, he stopped and planted something in the ground. Sensors, Hana realized. He was building a detection grid. Then the predators came. The first one rushed from the darkness, a massive shape of silicon and mineral plates. Day turned and fired his weapon in one smooth motion. The creature collapsed, a smoking hole in its chest. He resumed his work as if nothing had happened. 2 more came from different directions. Day dropped to one knee and fired twice. Both creatures fell. He stood, checked his ammunition, and continued placing sensors. He's not even concerned, Bora whispered beside Hana. They're trying to kill him, and he's treating it like routine maintenance. Deathworlder, Hana said softly. He grew up on a planet where everything tried to kill him. This is probably normal for him. They watched for 3 hours. Day completed his perimeter, killing 9 predators in the process. When he returned to the airlock, his suit was covered in silicon-based ichor, and his movements were slightly slower. But he was alive. The airlock cycled. Day stepped inside and removed his helmet. His face was expressionless. Perimeter set, he reported. The sensors will warn us if anything approaches. I've also marked the bodies outside. Dr. Bora, you can collect more samples when you're ready. You killed 9 of them, June said quietly. Alone in 3 hours. They wouldn't leave, Day said simply. He looked at his rifle. I'm down to 60% ammunition. We need that chemical repellent working soon. Dr. Bora was already heading to the science lab with her samples. I'll start immediately. Day turned to Hana. Now let's patch those hull breaches. I need welding equipment, sealant compound, and someone to hand me tools. I'll help, Hana said. Me too, Young Rin's mother said. I'm an engineer. Not starships, but I understand structural integrity. Good. Day began unloading repair materials from his pack. We worked through the night. By morning, I want this ship airtight. They worked for 11 hours straight. Day moved through the damaged sections with practiced efficiency, welding, sealing, reinforcing. He taught them as he worked, explaining each step, making sure they understood what he was doing and why. Hana found herself fascinated by his methodology. He wasted no movement, no material. Everything had a purpose. When he made a decision, he committed completely. There was no hesitation, no second guessing. Where did you learn all this? She asked while passing him a welding torch. Combat engineering school, he replied. Then 12 years of field work. You do enough repairs under fire, you get fast. Under fire? When people are shooting at you while you work. He finished a weld and inspected it critically. This is actually easier. Nobody's shooting. Hana realized he was serious. This nightmare scenario, trapped on a hostile moon surrounded by predators racing against time, was easier than his normal job. By dawn, all 3 hull breaches were sealed. The life support system was still failing, but more slowly now. Dr. Bora emerged from the lab looking exhausted but triumphant. I found it, she announced. The predators have a chemical sensitivity. There's a compound we can synthesize from our medical supplies. It should repel them. How long to make enough? Day asked. 6 hours to produce. Another 2 to deploy around the ship. Do it, Day said. I'll stand watch. June cleared his throat. You've been awake for over 20 hours. Don't you need rest? Day looked at him. I'll rest when everyone's safe. Right now I'm on duty. He took position near the main viewport, weapon ready, and simply stood there, waiting, watching, making sure nothing threatened his people. Hana realized that was how he thought of them now. Not aliens, not strangers. His people. People he was responsible for keeping alive. She hoped they would all survive long enough to thank him properly. The human ship appeared on their sensors 47 hours after the distress call. Dr. Hana rushed to the damaged sensor array, hardly believing what she was seeing. Someone had actually come. It's small, Dr. Bora said, standing beside her. Very small. Is that really a rescue ship? Hana studied the readings. The vessel was perhaps 15 meters long, angular and scarred. It looked more like a cargo pod than a proper spacecraft, but it was broadcasting human identification codes and requesting approach clearance. Should we tell everyone? Bora asked. Not yet, Hana decided. Not until we know what this is. On the bridge of the assembly observation ship in high orbit, Ambassador Veltara watched the same readings with growing confusion. The human vessel had just entered the system, and it was nothing like she expected. No escort ships, no support craft. Just one small battered ship heading straight for Kethrin 9. Magnify the image, she ordered. The view screen showed the human ship in detail. It was covered in ablative scarring, as if it had survived atmospheric entries through fire and chaos. But it was alone, completely alone, and very small. Madness, her aide whispered. They sent one ship? Apparently, Veltara said. She opened a communication channel. Human vessel, this is assembly ship Gentle Dawn. We read your identification. Are there additional rescue craft incoming? The response came immediately. The voice was male, calm, and utterly matter-of-fact. Negative, Gentle Dawn. This is Warrant Officer Day. I'm your rescue volunteer. Requesting updated coordinates for the Morning Bloom. Veltara's wings fluttered. Warrant Officer, you appear to be alone. How many personnel are aboard your vessel? Just me. Please send coordinates. There was a long pause. Veltara looked at her aide, who looked back with equal confusion. One person. They had sent one person. Warrant officer, she said carefully. There are 73 survivors requiring evacuation. Your ship appears too small. Not evacuating, ma'am. Keeping them alive until proper rescue arrives. Coordinates? Veltara transmitted the data. What else could she do? This human was already here, already committed. Perhaps there was some aspect of human capability she did not understand. Coordinates received. Day confirmed. Beginning descent in 20 minutes. Recommend you maintain high orbit. The radiation down there is pretty hot. The channel closed. Veltara sat back in her chair, feeling helpless. She sent an urgent message back to the assembly. Human response arrived. Single operator. Unknown capabilities. Situation unclear. Day checked his atmospheric entry trajectory 3 times. Catherine 9 was not the worst moon he had landed on, but it was definitely in the top 10. The radiation levels were high enough to kill most species in hours. The atmosphere was thick with corrosive compounds. The gravity was 2.3 times Earth standard, uncomfortable but manageable. The native life forms worried him more. The briefing files mentioned silicon-based predators, highly territorial and aggressive. His weapons would work on them, but he had limited ammunition. Better to avoid confrontation where possible. Beginning entry, he reported to no one in particular. The communication channels were open, but he did not expect responses. He was here to work, not to chat. The ship hit atmosphere and began to shake. Fire bloomed across his view screen as the heat shields took the punishment. This was always Day's least favorite part, the few minutes where he was essentially a falling rock, trusting his ship and his entry calculations. The shaking intensified. His teeth rattled. Equipment secured with military-grade straps still managed to vibrate and clank. Then smoothly the worst passed. The ship was through the upper atmosphere, descending toward the surface. On board the Morning Bloom, every functional sensor was pointed at the descending human ship. Crew members crowded around Hana's console, watching the impossible happen. No ship should survive that entry angle, Chief Engineer Thalcor said. He was Vexian, his crystalline body still bearing cracks from the crash. The heat alone should have destroyed the hull. It's human, someone said, as if that explained everything. One human, another voice added. What can one person do? They watched the ship level out 5 kilometers above the surface, scanning for a landing site. The terrain around the Morning Bloom was treacherous. Jagged rock formations, thermal vents spewing toxic gases, and deep rifts that dropped into darkness. The human ship settled onto a relatively flat area 15 kilometers northeast of their position. It landed hard without the gentle repulsor assistance that civilized ships used. It simply dropped the last 10 meters and absorbed the impact with heavy struts. He's too far away, Bora said. 15 kilometers in this gravity through that terrain. Maybe he'll wait for better conditions, someone suggested hopefully. They watched the sensors. For a long minute, nothing happened. Then the ship's cargo ramp lowered and a single figure emerged. He was wearing a heavy environmental suit, bulkier than any civilian model. Even through the suit, they could see he was not large, perhaps average for a human, which meant tall by galactic standards, but not exceptional. He carried a massive pack on his back and some kind of tool in his hands. Then he started walking. No vehicle? Thalcor said incredulously. He's walking? In 2.3 gravity, Hana added quietly. Through toxic atmosphere and hostile terrain. They watched the human, Day, she remembered his name was Day, begin his trek toward them. His movements were steady and efficient. He did not rush. He did not hesitate. He simply walked, each step purposeful, covering ground at a pace that should have been impossible in that gravity. Aboard the Gentle Dawn, Ambassador Veltara watched the same thing. Her aide was frantically running calculations. His walking speed is approximately 4 kilometers per hour, the aide reported, in 2.3 gravity, while carrying what our sensors indicate is over 200 kilograms of equipment. That's impossible, Veltara said. Apparently not for humans. They watched him walk for 4 hours. He never stopped, never slowed. He navigated around obstacles with practiced ease. When he encountered a thermal vent blocking his path, he simply climbed over the surrounding rocks, pack and all. When a native creature, One of the silicon-based predators approached him. Day stopped. He set down his pack carefully. The creature was massive, easily 3 times his size, covered in mineral plates that made it look like walking stone. The predator charged. Day sidestepped with speed that seemed impossible in heavy gravity and struck the creature with his tool, a plasma cutter, their sensors identified. The cut was precise, severing one of the creature's legs. It collapsed and Day stepped around it, retrieved his pack, and continued walking. "Did you see that?" Veltara's aide whispered. "His reaction time, Deathworlder," Veltara said softly. "We keep forgetting what that word means." On the morning bloom, young Rin pressed her face against the damaged viewport. "Is he really coming to help us?" she asked her mother. "I think so, sweetheart. He's all alone." "Yes." "Is he a hero?" Rin's mother looked at the distant figure steadily approaching through impossible conditions. "I don't know yet. But he's definitely brave." Hana checked the time. 4 hours since the human landed. 15 kilometers through terrain that should have taken days to cross. He was visible now on their external cameras, a lone figure in a scarred environmental suit approaching their broken ship. She activated the external speaker. "Human vessel, Warrant Officer Day, we can see you." "Thank you for coming." The figure stopped. For a moment he just stood there looking up at their ship. Then his voice came through, slightly distorted by his suit's communications. "Dr. Hana?" "Yes, that's me." "How did you know?" "You sent the distress call. Your signature was on the message." He resumed walking. "I'll be there in 30 minutes. Please prepare a list of your most critical needs. Medical, structural, supplies. We'll prioritize." "Understood," Hana said. "Warrant Officer, how many more rescuers are coming?" There was a pause. "I'm it, ma'am. But that's okay. We'll make it work." Hana felt something in her chest, not quite hope, but something close. This human had walked 15 kilometers through hell to reach them. He was calm, professional, and completely unfazed by their situation. Maybe, she thought, one human would be enough. Day reached the Morning Bloom's hull 28 minutes later. The ship was in bad shape. Hull breaches, major structural damage, systems failing across the board. But people were alive inside. That was what mattered. He knocked on the airlock with his gloved fist. "Day, human combat engineer, requesting permission to come aboard," he said formally. The airlock cycled open. Inside, 73 aliens stared at him with fear, hope, and desperate relief. Day stepped inside and removed his helmet. His face was unremarkable. Average features, dark eyes, a few scars. He looked tired but calm. "Right," he said. "Let's get to work." The chemical repellent worked. Dr. Bora's compound was sprayed in a wide perimeter around the ship, and within an hour the predators retreated. They did not leave entirely. The sensors still detected them in the distance, but they stopped attacking the hull. For the first time in days, the Morning Bloom's crew could breathe without the constant stress of imminent breach. Day slept for 4 hours after the repellent deployment. He found a corner of the cargo bay, sat down with his back against the wall, and simply closed his eyes. Hana watched him sleep, amazed that anyone could rest sitting upright in full gear. But she supposed that was another skill from his harsh world. Sleep whenever possible, however possible. When he woke, he was immediately alert. No grogginess, no confusion. One moment asleep, the next moment checking his equipment and reading status reports. "How's our air situation?" he asked Hana. "Better. With the hull sealed and the repellent working, we could redirect power back to life support. We have maybe 5 days now." "Good. That gives us a buffer." He stood, stretching his shoulders. "What about the radiation storms? Your distress call mentioned them." "They come through every 6 to 8 days, Dr. Bora said, joining them. "Massive electromagnetic pulses combined with hard radiation. They last anywhere from 1 to 4 days. When's the next one?" "According to our models, approximately 30 hours from now." Day frowned. "Can this ship survive another storm?" "No," Chief Engineer Thalcor said flatly. He had been listening nearby. "The first storm is what damaged us so badly. Another direct hit will collapse the remaining structural supports. The radiation will kill us all within hours. Then we move," Day said simply. "Move where?" Thalcor demanded. "I told you, there's nowhere safe out there." "The cave systems," Day said. He pulled up a map on his handheld device. "I scanned the area during my perimeter walk. There's an extensive network of caves about 4 kilometers northeast, deep enough to shield from radiation. Large enough to fit everyone. 4 kilometers, Thalcor said. In this gravity. With injured people, children, elders, it's impossible. It's difficult, Day corrected again. And it's our only option. The storm will kill everyone if we stay here. Hana looked at the map. How long would it take to move everyone? In this gravity, with the people who can walk supporting those who can't? Day calculated mentally. 3 trips. 4 hours per trip. 12 hours total if everything goes perfectly. Add 4 hours for problems and delays. 16 hours. We only have 30 hours before the storm, Bora said. Then we leave in 6 hours, Day replied. That gives us time to prepare and still leaves a safety margin. He looked around at the gathered survivors. I need everyone sorted into 3 groups. Strongest walkers in Group 1, they'll help carry supplies. Injured and weak in Group 2. Children and critical care patients in Group 3. Who leads each group? June asked. You lead Group 1. Hana leads Group 2. I'll take Group 3. You can't carry critical patients and children alone, Hana protested. I can carry 4 adults at a time, Day said matter-of-factly. Children weigh less. I'll manage, there was stunned silence. Carry 4 adults? In 2.3 gravity? Through 4 kilometers of hostile terrain? That's impossible, Thalcor said again. Day just looked at him. Keep saying that. Hasn't stopped me yet. The preparations took exactly 6 hours. Supplies were packed into portable containers. The injured were stabilized as much as possible. Young Rin and 3 other children were fitted with emergency breathing masks in case the air mix got bad during transit. Aboard the Gentle Dawn, Ambassador Veltara watched the preparations with growing disbelief. He intends to move all 73 people before the storm, her aide reported. In 3 trips. On foot. The mathematics don't support this, Veltara said. Even if he could carry the load, which physics says he cannot, the time frame is too short. Should we inform them it's impossible? I think, Veltara said slowly, we should stop using that word around humans. They seem to take it as a challenge. The first group departed at hour 6. June led 18 of the strongest survivors, each carrying supplies. Day walked with them, showing them how to move efficiently in the heavy gravity, how to breathe steadily, how to rest while still moving. It took 4 hours and 20 minutes. Day got them to the caves, showed them which chambers were safest, and then immediately headed back. No rest. No pause. The second group left during hour 10. Dr. Hana led 22 survivors, the walking wounded, the weak, the exhausted. Day carried 3 injured who could not walk, supporting them with a harness system he rigged from emergency straps. The weight would have crushed most species. He walked steadily, never stopping. This trip took 4 hours and 45 minutes. Day deposited the injured in the caves, checked that Group 1 was settling properly, and headed back again. Hana grabbed his arm as he was leaving. You need rest. Even a few minutes. Clock's ticking, he replied. I'll rest when everyone's safe. The third group was the hardest. 33 people. All the children, all the critical care patients, everyone who could not possibly walk 4 kilometers. Day rigged a carry frame from ship components, creating a makeshift stretcher system. Dr. Bora watched him load the first 4 patients onto the frame. This violates every principle of physics I know. Your physics, Day said. Assume species from normal worlds. I'm from Earth, different rules. He lifted the frame. The weight was enormous. 4 adult aliens plus the frame structure plus emergency equipment. Perhaps 300 kilograms total, in 2.3 gravity. That effective weight was nearly 700 kilograms. Day's legs trembled for a moment. Then he steadied, adjusted his stance, and began walking. Young Rin walked beside him, one small hand gripping his equipment harness for balance. Are you very strong? She asked. Strong enough, Day replied. His voice was strained now, showing effort for the first time. How are you doing, Rin? Scared, she admitted. That's okay. Fear keeps you alert. Alert keeps you alive. They walked in silence for a while. Then Rin asked, Why did you come? We're not your people. Day was quiet for a long moment. You called for help. That makes you my people. The storm hit during the third trip. They were 3 kilometers into the journey when the sky changed color. Day had been watching the weather, tracking the storm's approach, but it arrived faster than predicted, 40 minutes earlier than the model suggested. Everyone down, he shouted. Shelter behind rocks, now. He set down his burden carefully and pulled emergency shelter material from his pack, reflective sheets designed to deflect radiation. He worked frantically, stretching the material over the 4 patients on his carry frame, anchoring it against the rising wind. Rin and the other children huddled close. Day wrapped them in more sheeting, covering them as completely as possible. The adults who could move helped shield those who could not. The storm hit with full force. Rain that wasn't really rain, more like liquid metal, toxic and burning. Wind that screamed across the landscape. And radiation, invisible but deadly, pouring from the sky. Day's suit began alarming. Radiation levels were spiking. The sheltering material was helping, but it was not enough. He needed to cover more area, protect more people. He stood up. "What are you doing?" Dr. Bora screamed over the wind. Day spread his arms, positioning himself to block the worst of the radiation from reaching the huddled survivors. His suit could handle more exposure than their fragile bodies. He could absorb the punishment they could not. "Get down," Bora shouted. "You'll be killed." "Maybe," Day shouted back. "But they won't." He stood there for 72 minutes. The storm raged around him. His suit's radiation counter climbed into dangerous territory, then critical, then beyond critical into ranges that should have been immediately fatal. Warning lights flashed across his helmet display. His body's radiation dose was accumulating with every passing second, but he did not move. Did not sit. Did not bend. Young Rin watched him through a gap in the sheltering material. The human stood like a statue, like something carved from the rock itself. The storm beat against him and he did not fall. "He's protecting us," she whispered to her mother. "He's taking the bad air so we don't have to." The storm began to ease. The toxic rain lessened. The wind dropped from screaming to merely howling. Day finally moved, checking each person in turn. "Status?" he called. "Everyone breathing? Anyone injured?" Miraculously, they were all alive. Frightened, cold, but alive. The sheltering had worked. His body blocking the worst of it had worked. Dr. Bora grabbed his arm, checking his suit's readouts. Her face went pale. "You've taken a lethal dose," she said quietly. "Multiple times over. You need immediate medical treatment." Later, Dai said. He began packing up the sheltering material. "We're almost there. 1 more kilometer." "Day, you don't understand." I understand perfectly," he interrupted. "I'm going to get everyone to safety. Then we'll worry about me. Help me get them back on the carry frame." They reached the caves 30 minutes later. June and Hana rushed out to help, carrying the last patients inside. Day set down his burden for the final time and immediately began counting heads. 73, he announced. Everyone made it. Then he collapsed. Dr. Hana and Dr. Bora worked through the night. They had some medical equipment from the ship, and Day had brought human medical supplies, but treating radiation poisoning in a human was beyond their knowledge. Humans were so different. Their biology was aggressive, adaptable, but Day woke 48 hours later. His body felt like it had been beaten with hammers, then set on fire, then beaten again. Every cell screamed in protest, but he was alive, which was more than most species could say after that level of radiation exposure. Dr. Hana was beside him immediately. "Don't move. You need to rest. Your body is still fighting the radiation damage. How long was I out?" His voice was rough, barely a whisper. 2 days. "We thought," she stopped, composing herself. "We thought you were dying." "Not yet." He tried to sit up, failed, tried again. This time he managed. "Status of the group?" "Everyone's fine. The caves are stable. We have enough supplies for 8 more days." "The storm?" "Passed. It lasted 3 days total." "You were right, the morning bloom didn't survive. Our sensors show it collapsed completely." Day nodded. "That was expected." "And rescue?" Hana hesitated. "That's the problem. The storm damaged our communication relay. It was already fragile from the crash. Now it's completely dead. The assembly doesn't know we survived. They might think we all died in the storm." Day closed his eyes, thinking. "The communication array. Is it still on the morning bloom?" "Yes, but the ship is destroyed. The radiation out there is still dangerously high, and the wreckage is surrounded by predators. Dozens of them, maybe more. The storm drove them into a feeding frenzy. I need to get that array." "That's impossible," Dr. Bora said, entering the cave chamber. "You can barely stand. The radiation levels would kill you. The predators would kill you. Even if by some miracle you survived, you'd need to repair the array with salvaged parts." It's too much for one person in your condition. Day looked at her. What's the alternative? Silence. They all knew the answer. Without communication, the assembly would assume they died. Rescue would never come. They would survive the immediate dangers only to die slowly of starvation. I'll come with you, June said. You can't do this alone. Day studied him. June's arm was still injured, but he had proven himself capable. More importantly, he had the mindset, the willingness to face danger for others. Can you shoot with your bad arm? If I have to, then you're with me. We leave in 2 hours. That gives me time to prepare. Day looked at the gathered survivors. Everyone else stays here. Hana, you're in command while we're gone. If we don't come back, you'll come back, Young Rin said confidently. She walked over and hugged him carefully, aware he was injured. Heroes always come back. Day patted her head awkwardly. I'm not a hero, Rin. I'm just doing my job. 2 hours later, Day and June stood at the cave entrance checking their equipment. Day had managed to repair one environmental suit using parts from another. It was patched, barely functional, but it would have to do. His own suit was still operational despite the radiation damage, though the warnings indicated it was well beyond recommended usage. The wreckage is 6 kilometers from here, Day explained, showing June the map. We move fast, stay quiet, avoid the predators when possible. When we reach the morning bloom, I need maybe 30 minutes to extract the communication array and necessary components. You watch our backs, and if predators attack, you shoot the close ones. I'll handle the rest. Day handed him a rifle. Remember your training. Controlled bursts. Aim for center mass. These things have thick hides, so don't waste shots. They moved out into Catherine IX's hostile landscape. The storm had changed everything. New rifts in the ground, toppled rock formations, and predators everywhere. The creatures were agitated, territorial, dangerous. Day moved like a ghost despite his injuries. He had studied the predators, understood their behavior patterns. He knew when to freeze, when to move, when to hide behind rocks. June followed his lead, learning quickly. They reached the Morning Bloom's wreckage in 90 minutes. The ship was barely recognizable, crushed and scattered across half a kilometer. The predators had claimed it as territory. Dozens of them moved through the debris, fighting over scraps of metal and each other. That's a lot of hostiles, June whispered. Yes, Day agreed. We need a distraction, something to draw them away from the communication section. He pulled out a small device from his pack, sonic emitter. It'll make noise they hate. I'll place it on the far side of the wreckage, activate it remotely. When they rush to destroy it, we go in. How long will we have? Maybe 5 minutes before they realize it's a trick and come back. That's not much time. It's what we have. Dai checked his plasma cutter. Ready? June nodded, gripping his rifle. Day crawled forward, moving through the rubble with practiced stealth. It took him 10 minutes to place the sonic emitter, 10 minutes where any sound could bring dozens of predators down on him. But he was patient, careful, silent. He made it back to June and activated the device remotely. The sound was awful, a high-pitched screech that even June could barely hear, but that sent the predators into a rage. They rushed toward the emitter's location, attacking it, attacking each other, creating chaos. Now, Day said. They sprinted to the communication section. It was crushed but intact enough. Day's hands moved with desperate speed, disconnecting cables, removing modules, extracting the array core. His training took over, muscle memory from 100 field repairs under pressure. 3 minutes, a predator noticed them. It turned, beginning to approach. June fired. The rifle's recoil nearly knocked him over, but his shot was true. The predator collapsed. 4 minutes. Day had the array core free. He grabbed it along with the power coupling and backup transmitter. His arms were full of salvage components. Go, he shouted. They ran. Behind them, the predators realized the trick. The screaming horde turned, seeing the intruders in their territory. Day and June sprinted across the landscape. The predators were faster, bred for this environment. They closed the distance rapidly. Keep running, Day shouted. Don't look back. A predator lunged at June. He spun and fired without aiming, pure instinct. The shot went wild but close enough to make the creature hesitate. That second of delay saved his life. Another predator came from the side. Day dropped the components he was carrying, drew his sidearm and fired 3 rapid shots. The creature fell, but they were surrounded now. 8 predators, maybe 9, circling them like wolves. June's rifle clicked empty. Day's pistol had 4 shots left. Back to back, Day ordered. Conserve ammunition. The predators attacked. What happened next would be analyzed by the assembly for years. Day moved like something more than human. Faster than seemed possible, more precise than training could explain. It was as if every survival instinct bred into humanity over millions of years awakened at once. He shot one predator mid-leap, dodged another, using his plasma cutter to sever its leg as it passed. A third came at him from behind and he sensed it somehow, spinning to deliver a kick that shattered its frontal plating. June fought too, using his rifle as a club when the shots ran out. He was clumsy compared to Day, but brave, protecting his partner's back as they fought. The battle lasted 90 seconds. When it ended, 7 predators lay dead or dying. The remaining 2 fled. Day stood there, breathing hard, covered in blood and ichor. His injuries had reopened. His suit was damaged further, but the communication components were intact. You okay? He asked June. June stared at him. You just killed 7 predators in hand-to-hand combat. While injured, after taking a lethal radiation dose, I asked if you're okay. I'm fine, June said quietly. I'm starting to understand why other species fear your people. They shouldn't fear us, Day said, collecting the scattered components. We're just people. We bleed, we hurt, we die. We're just willing to do these things for others. They made it back to the caves. Dr. Hana rushed out, seeing their condition. You're both injured. We got it, Day said, handing her the communication array core. Can you repair this? Hana took it reverently. With Bora's help, maybe. It'll take time. We have 8 days, Day said. That's plenty of time. He collapsed again. This time, the unconsciousness lasted only 12 hours. His body learning to cope with the punishment, adapting as human bodies did. When he woke, Dr. Bora and Dr. Hana had repaired the array. They had rigged it to one of Day's power cells, amplified the signal using parts from 3 different systems. It was a masterpiece of improvised engineering. Will it work? Day asked. Only one way to find out, Bora said. She activated the array. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then static crackled and a voice came through. Ambassador Velterra's voice. Morning, Bloom. This is Gentle Dawn. We read your signal. Repeat, we read your signal. What is your status? Hana grabbed the communicator. Gentle Dawn, this is Dr. Hana. All 73 survivors are alive and sheltered. We are in cave systems approximately 6 kilometers from the original crash site. Request immediate extraction. There was a pause, then Velterra's voice again, thick with emotion. Confirmed, Dr. Hana. Rescue fleet is 4 days out. Hold position. We're coming for you. The cave erupted in cheers. People cried, hugged, celebrated. They were going to survive. Actually survive. Young Rin found Day sitting alone near the back of the cave, watching the celebration quietly. You did it, she said, sitting beside him. You saved us all. We did it together, Day corrected. Everyone played a part. But you were the one who came. You were the one who volunteered. Day looked at the celebrating survivors, aliens from species he had never.